services. Cloud. Amazon is 23 years old, approximately. And it does, I think, $163 billion in revenue. But did you know that? It's taken Amazon nearly all that 23 years to start Amazon Web Services, and guess what? Their only profitable business really is Amazon Web Services. So it's taken them nearly 20 years to find their first product is actually making them money. This is what I'm saying. That's Amazon. So if they had just stayed as an online bookseller, we wouldn't be talking about Amazon coming to Australia, would we? We wouldn't even have heard of it. This is what I'm saying here. They went out and created product after product, other products, and you know, we're talking hundreds of thousands of products, before they found their 19th one, so to speak, which was Amazon Web Services. And you can check out Amazon today. If you move that out of Amazon, they're not making money. That's where nearly all their revenue comes from. Makes sense? So even the big companies, that's why they're testing, that's why they've got it. You know, the other question you could add and jot this down is, what business are you really in? That's always an important question to ask. What business are you really in? If Amazon answered that question was, if Jeff Bezos had said, oh, we're a bookseller. Wrong answer. That will limit them, like a limiting belief, to that's all they are. If Steve Jobs had said, we're a computing company, wrong answer. Lose the game. If they had said, oh, we're just going to beat our competitors and try and beat Microsoft and Dell, you know, these other computing companies on price, and that's what we're going to do, they would have lost the game. They didn't try and compete. They went to what's called the blue ocean strategy. Thought, what business are we really in? We're in something more than selling computers. Thank God, because they changed the world, because out of that come other products. They thought, well, maybe we're not just in computing. Makes sense? So you want to always be asking that question, what business are you really in? If you study the history of most mega corporations, they were once doing this, then they pivoted, and now you know them because they succeeded with something like this. And then that might go on a business cycle and goes really well for a while, then they have to pivot again and create the next new thing. Make sense? And as Steve Jobs always said, I'd rather cannibalize my own products, because if I don't, then guess what? Someone else will. Let's look at the example of Kodak. Great story, huh? Kodak invented the digital camera in 1972, I believe it was. 1972. They tried to get the board to support releasing it. And guess what? No. You can understand the pressure. You've got probably 100,000 employees that depend upon the decisions that if we release something that might cannibalize our existing business, it could cause some unrest. But they give it away. But guess what? We all know. Other people eventually launched digital cameras, and Kodak was a giant. Struggling now, because now guess what they're asking? What business are we really in? Because the business they thought they were in is no longer in business. Make sense? Okay? So if you don't ask the question, and if you don't have an open mind to what business you're really in, then your business may disappear what you think you're in. Make sense? Repeat after me. Something to think about. Let me give you an example of test and measure. I remember going to Russia a few times, a country that I love going to amongst many countries. But I have fans around the world that are, one of the schools which I have was released back in, I think, around 2001. So if you go to India or these emerging countries, a lot of people have read my book. And I was in Russia, so they wanted to interview me, and they wanted to say, one of the questions was, Gary, how do you, what can you share that might help? Say the average Russian, if they want to start a business or they wanted to see what could they do? And I said, well, here's an interesting thing what I would do. I said, what a lot of people in Australia do is they'll go to, say, America, and they'll just go and research. Just go and look at businesses and shops, because often that's the simplest way people make business in Australia because if it works in America, similar demographic, it possibly will work in Australia. So I said there's these people that went on a trip to America and they stumbled into a hardware store called Home Depot, or Home Depot we might call it. And they thought, wow, we don't have these in Australia. A hardware store with all this stuff and it's cheap. And they're giving it out of where? Where are they buying the stuff from?
China.
China. Okay? And they thought, cool concept. Don't have to be that smart to figure out this could work in Australia. They brought the idea back to Australia. They just did jot this down. Who wants to know what the shortcut to success is? Who would like to think there is a shortcut to success? More important. Okay. Who really